Hey guys, what's happening? So we are back with more Blade. And at this point, desperate times have called for desperate measures, because throughout this series, Blade has been facing an enemy who is well above his XP level, which has sent him on a side mission to get training from Dracula. And when this is done, there's going to be some new abilities unlocked on Blade's skill tree. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch your spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back, we continue with Blade, who's made his way to Dracula's home in Chernobyl to ever so humbly ask for Dracula's help with learning more about himself as well as how to win his war with the Adana. Cause like we've seen so far in this series, after Blade was tricked into releasing the Adana, the mother of evil, she has made it clear on a number of occasions that he is woefully underpowered, which has caused Blade to come to the conclusion, if he's going to stop her, he needs to reach his fullest potential. So for Blade, it just seemed like the logical answer for him to go to Dracula, who not only knows what Blade is through and through, but he also has centuries of war experience that could aid Blade in the fight to come. So to start this out, Dracula just has Blade fighting a ton of blood zombies. And the reason why Dracula has him doing this is so that he can observe and evaluate where Blade is at and where he may have gone wrong, which is very different than just going off of times past when Blade and Dracula fought each other. Cause now this is Dracula taking the opportunity to stand aside and make his observations on where Blade is now. And it isn't long before Dracula tells Blade, enough, I've seen what I need to see, and I know why you failed. Which right there, I imagine for Blade, that's gotta hurt the pride a little bit. Cause he's probably thinking like, man, come on, you don't know what I was about to do. Cause all that could have been me setting up something new. You don't know me. But just after this, the first thing that Blade says is, you never told me you can make blood zombies. And Dracula just replies, you never asked. Which to me, it's one of the things that I really like about this whole setup here, because even though Dracula is Blade's sworn enemy, there's still this unspoken understanding between the two of them. Because oftentimes when we see Dracula show up in Marvel Comics, he's usually given the twisty mustache villain treatment. And to be fair, in recent years, I will say that we have gotten to see more of his calculated and strategic side, like in the 2018 Avengers run with the rise of Vampire Nation. But for a long time, just as a character, I feel like there's been a lot of untapped potential, because it's rare that we really look into Dracula with a story that talks about who he is and who he was. Because there's a few times where we talk about it here, and I'm digging it. But next, Dracula tells Blade, you came to me to learn, to stop this Adana. What do you think I can teach you? So Blade tells him how to use evil against evil. So Dracula's then like, I see, and you believe that I am evil. And I mean, right there, Blade is just like, well, yeah. Because there's not too many people who are going to argue with that statement. But Dracula just goes on to let him know that Blade's problem is perspective. It's not power, it's not that he lacks the skill, but instead it's that he's blind to the forces that exist inside of him. And the Adana, who sees all, she knows this. So he lets Blade know until he embraces himself, he will not be able to destroy her. So for Blade, with him knowing that all the occult creatures from around the world can sense the Adana's arrival, Blade knows that Dracula was aware of her before he even came here. So Blade more or less tells Dracula that he doesn't think Dracula cares about the Adana or even her winning, because he seems unbothered. But Dracula tells him it's dangerous to assume intentions. I love this world more than you can know. To where from there he tells Blade to follow him back inside, as he goes on to explain to Blade how they have more in common than he realizes. Because there was a time centuries ago, before he became the Prince of Darkness, when he was Vlad the Impaler, and he fought against evil, using his sword and his anger. And he asked Blade, does any of this sound familiar? As he goes on to show Blade the armor he used to wear, while telling him, I wore this as a knight in the legions of the righteous. Evil first knew me because I hunted it. I fought for the God I believed loved us. I served his cross. I spilled blood to protect the world, because back then I thought I knew what evil was. And then when I became this, I learned that I knew nothing. You need to learn what you do not know. So right there he turns around and tells Blade to attack him. And it throws Blade off at first, but not after long he realizes that it's time for another lesson. Cause now Dracula wants Blade to practice his anger. And the truth is, he's not worried about Blade actually trying to kill him here, because if Blade could have put Dracula down for good, he would have done it by now. And we're not talking about alternate timelines, like in Dark Ages when Blade killed Apocalypse and Dracula. But if you're interested in seeing that story, I got it linked in the description just below that like button. But in this case, there's a few things that Dracula's trying to show Blade. Because on the surface, he does want Blade to continue to fight with his anger. He wants him to use that. But also, Dracula's giving Blade a demonstration of how for himself, accepting who and what he is has completely changed him from who he once was when he was only a man. Because that's where he's trying to get Blade to step into. So as Blade attacks, at one point Dracula just turns to fog, and at another point he just turns into a bunch of bats. As he lets Blade know, if you think like a man, then you will have the limits of a man. And you can tell even right now that Blade doesn't fully comprehend this. Because right now Blade is just like, man, what you mean? I'm half man, half amazing. But no, seriously, Blade tells Dracula, I am a man. Which for him, it's why he's trained the way he has, and he fights the way he does, even post Morbius. But in response, Dracula tells him, you wish to be, just as I did, but you are no longer a man, and you will never be again. So from here, Dracula just continues to showcase his different abilities, as he summons the Soulless, who are practically a bunch of zombies to go after Blade. But Dracula's intention with doing this is just to send in so many that it forces Blade to get out of his air quotes pretty fighting style, so that he's just overwhelmed to the point that it forces Blade to tap into his feral untamed anger. And it works. Because from here, Blade just goes to ripping off arms and all sorts of limbs. He's pulling bodies in half, taking their insides, pulling them outside. He's going crazy. But this is precisely what Dracula wanted to show him. Because what Blade has done here, this is not the work of a man. And if Blade wants to destroy the Adana, a charmed sword is not going to help. He's going to have to become the evil that he hates. And Dracula tells him he's got to embrace its power. Our power. Evil against evil. So Dracula tells Blade to follow him to the next room, because they're not done. But also he lets Blade know that he doesn't need to worry about him telling everyone how much Blade enjoyed that, because really that whole thing was just for educational purposes. So Dracula's just like, we'll leave it at that. But because in that moment Blade only touched his nature, and that was only a glimpse of the power he has inside, Dracula tells him that that's good but not good enough. So he ends up pouring out a portion of his blood and telling Blade to drink it, because it would take generations for Blade to truly unleash himself by way of just traditional training. And given the circumstances, the Adana is not giving Blade that long. And of course, with Blade being offered Dracula's blood to drink, his initial answer is no. But Dracula's like, come on man, you know they got DMT for traumatized mind, Adderall for an overactive child, this ain't no different. But Blade just keeps saying no, because for him, he can't help but to think that there's gotta be some sort of catch. So Dracula tells him this is no sort of ruse. All it will do is show you your shadow and mine. Drink. So Blade asks, to receive your power? At what price? So he makes it clear that this isn't Dracula giving his powers to Blade, but instead by drinking his blood, this will give Blade a deeper connection to his own. So he lets Blade know the only price that he'll pay is pain. So right there, Blade's just like, alright, if it's just pain. So Blade drinks it, and it goes down like a shot of Bacardi 151. Cause right away we see Blade in pain after drinking Dracula's blood with no chaser, to where then moments later, after Blade has more or less gathered himself, Dracula tells him, now, show me evil. To where this time around, Dracula goes on the offense, but as he leaps in to attack Blade, Blade transforms into fog to avoid the attack before re-solidifying himself on the other side of the room. So from here, Dracula tells him, you feel the connection, the bond to shadow itself. Now you can smell every trace of soul that has passed through this space. You have the bloodline of eternity in your veins. I believe what you should feel is gratitude. As he goes on to ask Blade, are you a man? And Blade tells him not anymore. And after that, Dracula's just like, he's done enough for Blade. So he tells him more or less, get the hell out of my house, Daywalker, as Dracula just leaves the room. And next, from here, we head over to Bruce Banner, who we see on the phone saying, Blade, the things you said would be happening with the Adana, these things are happening here. It's something you need to come see, and don't take long, because I'm getting angry. Which right there just lets us know that we're getting ready for a Hulk Blade crossover. That really makes a lot of sense with everything that's been going on in the Hulk series, with Bruce having his own case of primordial run-ins as well. So I'm excited to see how all of this actually comes together. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts. down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.